Kunshan was easier, cleaner, flatter, calmer, simpler. On paper, it was probably the better setup. But my life there got smaller. So I left Kunshan for Chongqing. And that sounds backwards, because Chongqing is not easier. It's louder, more crowded, harder to walk, harder to explain. My apartment got worse. I took less money. But somehow, my life got better. I don't want to pretend Kunshan was terrible. It wasn't. Kunshan is easy in a lot of ways. It's clean, it's organized, it's flat, it's close to Shanghai, it's comfortable enough. And as a foreigner, there were some things that were interesting. Some of the old towns looked cool from a distance. There were little pockets where I could understand why someone might visit for a day. And if someone tells me they like Kunshan, I get it. I'm not here to tell them they're wrong. Some people want a calm city, a manageable city, a place where their daily life doesn't feel like it was designed by a drunk dungeon master. But visiting somewhere for a day and living there, that's not the same thing. And for me, the problem was not that Kunshan was horrible. The problem was that my life there got small. The real problem was where I lived. It wasn't just quiet, it was empty. I was one of the few people living in my complex, so it didn't feel peaceful. It felt unfinished, like someone built a place for a life that never showed up. And honestly, most of my footage from Kunshan looks like that. Walking to work, walking home, wandering around the area near me, trying to find something that felt like a life. That wasn't bad filming. That was basically the problem. Most days, there wasn't much around me. No real street life, no casual place to walk to, no neighborhood rhythm, no easy human contact, a stadium that was never used, just apartment, work, apartment. Like my whole life had been reduced to a loading screen. The nearest real place to go to was about 30 minutes away, and it was a mall, which for some people is fine. For me, a mall's not a life. A mall's where you go when the city has run out of ideas and said, I don't know, put a Starbucks near an escalator. So if I wanted to go somewhere, it felt like a project. Not a walk, not a normal part of the day, a project. Like I needed a backpack, a weather check, and emotional permission to leave the house. And when going outside feels like a project, you start going outside less. Then your world gets smaller, and your apartment gets bigger in the worst possible way. And as a foreigner, Kunshan had this weird wall around it. Not a dramatic wall, not some movie version where everyone hates you. Just a normal, boring wall. Nobody around me spoke English, and at that time, I spoke basically zero Chinese. Hell, I still don't speak any Chinese. So even basic daily life felt sealed off. You can exist somewhere every day and still not really enter it. And yeah, I think most of the looks I got were probably curiosity. I was a foreigner. I stood out. But some of those looks were wild. Back home, a stare like that could start a fight. And even when I smiled, some guys still looked at me like they wanted to punch me in the face. Nothing ever happened, no drama, nobody did anything, which almost made it weirder. It wasn't danger, it wasn't conflict, it was just this low-level social static, like being on the wrong radio station all day. I was around people, but I still felt outside the place. Not hated, not welcomed, just there. And after a while, the whole thing started feeling hella generic. Not terrible, not hostile, just generic. Like a city that technically had everything a city needs, but nothing that made me want to participate in it. Shanghai was technically close, but technically close is one of those lies maps tells you. Shanghai was about an hour and a half by taxi, and if you do that every weekend, it adds up fast. Time adds up, money adds up, energy adds up. So yeah, Shanghai existed, but it wasn't daily life. It was an expensive escape hatch. And socially, it didn't really solve the problem either. A lot of the Shanghai people I met were fine at first. Then they found out I lived in Kunshan. And suddenly the energy changed. like I had told them I lived in a storage unit behind a tire shop. Messages slowed down, plans got vague, people ghosted. So Kunshan wasn't just physically separate, it felt socially separate too. A place can be convenient on paper and still feel like you're living just outside the actual life. Then there's Chongqing. And Chongqing is not the easier choice. This city is a lot. The hills are annoying, the stairs are everywhere, the layout makes no sense until it does, the weather can be rough, the traffic is real. The city feels like someone folded a map, got angry, and called it urban planning. And my apartment is worse. Also, I took less money, which matters. I'm not rich. I don't come from some family where bad financial choices become character development. Taking less money is not cute. It affects savings, it affects travel, it affects comfort, it affects what I can do later. So on paper, there was not some obvious upgrade. In a lot of ways, it looked like a worse deal. A worse apartment, less money, more hills, more bugs, more chaos, a very inspiring spreadsheet if your goal is self-sabotage. But Chongqing gave me something Kunshan didn't. A reason to leave the apartment. That sounds small, it isn't. In Kunshan, leaving the apartment felt like a plan. In Chongqing, leaving the apartment is just Tuesday. Here, there's always something happening. And I don't even eat out that much. I'm gluten-free, so I'm not walking around like every noodle shop is a personal invitation from God. But the point is, there's options. Shops, people outside, a barber 50 feet away, a gaming bar where I run a Dungeons and Dragons game, jazz bars, a fruit stand, a convenience store, streets that turn into stairs, and stairs that turn into another street. Even a normal walk has options. That sounds stupid until you've lived somewhere where every basic errand feels like a field trip. And maybe people here are friendlier. Or maybe there's just more people, so the odds are better. Either way, it changes the feeling. I can leave the apartment with no real plan and still run into life. Not always beautiful, not always convenient, but alive. And I'm not going to pretend Chongqing is some magical upgrade with hot pot lighting and personal growth music playing in the background. The city is huge. The traffic sucks. The weather can suck. The bugs are bigger. I've seen spiders and cockroaches here that look like they have rent money. And the crowds can be annoying as hell. People taking photos, blocking space, standing in the worst possible place because apparently the sidewalk is now a photo studio. So no, Chongqing is not perfect. It's not easier, but it's alive. And for me, alive beats convenient. And more importantly, I have more human contact here, a better network, more people to talk to, more chances to say yes to something. That changes the city. Because after living in enough places, I'm pretty convinced of this. Most of the time, the people make the difference. Not the skyline, not the apartment, not the cleanest street, not the photo spots, the people. Who you talk to, who you eat with, who checks in, who invites you somewhere, who makes the city feel less like scenery and more like a life. So when I compare Kunshan and Chongqing, I'm not saying one city is objectively better for everyone. That would be stupid. Some people would be happier in Kunshan. They would like the calm, the order, the flat streets, the easier daily rhythm, and they wouldn't be wrong. But for me, Kunshan was easier and Chongqing works better. Easier is not always better. Better apartment is not always a better life. A better salary is not always a better day. A cleaner city is not always the place you connect with. Sometimes the place that looks worse on paper gives you more reasons to participate. And that was the part I needed. I still think about the trade-off. I still think about the money. And I'm not going to pretend everyone should make that choice. Sometimes the easier city is exactly what you need. But for me, Kunshan was a better setup. Chongqing became a better life. The official deal is not the whole deal. The city is not just where you live. It's what your life turns into while you're there. And for me, Kunshan was easier, Chongqing was better.